Happy New Year, everyone. This is Citrine, and this month we are going to be focusing on the planetary aspects. Now, I do have listed here what's going on as far as the basics in astrology for the month, and you can get this information at my website, metaphysicalmoonlighters.com. I have it listed here on the screen. So if throughout the month you're wondering when is the new moon happening, you can just visit the website and get that information. Now, what I'm going to be focusing on today are the planetary aspects. Now, in general, there's going to be a lot of planetary movement happening in the sign of Capricorn. So just keep that in mind as I'm going through each individual sign. So we will get started with Aries. So for Aries risings and sun sign Aries, there's going to be a lot of activity in your career sector this month. Okay, let's look at what's going on. On the 5th, we have a nice sextile between Venus and Neptune. So a lot of Aries are going to be inspired. You might be coming up with different ideas of, the ways to do something a little bit differently on your job or in your business. Okay, so that is going to be a time where a lot of people are inspired. And for Aries risings, this concentration is going to be happening in your 10th house, your career sector. Now, on the 8th, we have a conjunction between the Sun and Venus, both of which are in Capricorn at this point in the month. Okay, so you are going to feel a sense of peace, a sense of harmony on your job, okay? Because remember, for Aries risings, this concentration of Capricorn energy is going to be happening in your career area, okay? So a lot of what you will be experiencing will be focused on your career area or, what you do for a living, things of that nature. Now, on the 10th, we have another sextile. We have the Sun in a sextile to Neptune. Okay, this is an energy where you might have vivid dreams. Again, a lot of Aries are going to be very inspired. You might be actually dreaming about things to do on your job. Like when you go to bed at night, you might be dreaming about your job around this time. Because whenever Neptune is involved, your imagination is like increased. Okay, so being that Neptune is in a sextile to the Sun, which at this point in the month, the Sun is going to be in Capricorn, you might be very inspired and you might be very imaginative, coming up with ideas of ways to do things differently on your job. Now, on the 11th, we do have a square. Okay, we have Mars in a square to Neptune. So, and this is happening for you in your area of life that deals with legal matters, that deals with, what you do behind the scenes, even with your spirituality. So there might be a little bit of challenges you have to deal with, Aries, around the 11th. The challenges might have to do with something focused around dealing with other cultures, legal matters, higher education, philosophy, things of that nature. Now, on the 16th, we have the Sun in a conjunction to Pluto. Okay, this is going to be a day where a lot of Aries might come off as being a little bit overbearing. So in the middle of the month, try to make sure that you check in with yourself. Ask yourself, am I being too overbearing? Am I just being too pushy? Things of that nature. And this is basically focused on your job. Because again, remember, Capricorn for you is in your career area. So you might find yourself, especially if you tend to be the boss on the job, you might want to tone it down a little bit if you tend to be too harsh to your employees around that time. Now, on the 23rd, we have the Sun in a conjunction to Mercury. For Aries, you might be tempted. You might be talking with your friends about, hey, let's book some travel. Let's do something. Let's go somewhere. That is the energy of when the sun is in a conjunction to Mercury. Remember, Mercury is the planet that deals with our mental processes. It can also deal with short distance travel. So a lot of Aries, you might be finding yourself asking your friends, hey, do you want to take a 2-hour ride this weekend to the nearby town and just hang out and have some fun? All right, so that's around the 23rd. Now, on the 28th, we have Mercury in a conjunction to Pluto. Okay, that's an energy where you will really sit down and ask yourself, what is helping me in my career and what is hindering me in my career? Okay, around that time. This is for Aries rising. Now, on the 30th, we do have another square. We have the sun in a square to Uranus, and for Aries rising, this is happening in the area dealing with your friendships and also your finances. So you might be feeling a little bit anxious. Something might come up. Maybe a friend might ask for some money, or you might realize, hey, the time has come for me to pay so and so back. And it might be making you feel a little anxious because that is the energy of when the sun is in a square to Uranus. We might start suddenly feeling anxious. Something is brewing. Something could very well be brewing. And for you, Aries rising, that something more than likely will have something to do with your friendships and your finances. So keep an eye out for that around the 30th. But basically, that is the astrological summary for Aries rising. Now we're going to move on to Taurus. Taurus rising. This is for Taurus rising. So remember, all of the signs are going to have a concentration of planets in Capricorn. It's just that it's happening in different areas of each sign's chart. So for Taurus, the concentration of Capricorn energy is going to be happening in your 9th house. Your 9th house can deal with a vast array of topics. It can deal with legal matters, philosophy, higher education, overseas travel, dealing with other cultures. But one good thing is that most of the aspects, most of the activity going on is positive for every sign, basically. So let's get started for Taurus rising. On the 5th, you have Venus in a sextile to Neptune, and it's happening in the areas between your 9th house and your 11th house. So you might be inspired. You might be inspiring friends to take up some art or beautify their area. But for you, it is happening again in the 9th house and the 11th houses. So you will have a good synastry going on. You will feel really good if you and your friends are traveling overseas or booking like a trip across the country. Everything will seem to go well and you will be very inspired. This is a time where you will be very inspired by other cultures. This is for Taurus rising. Now, on the 8th, we have the sun in a conjunction to Venus. This is an energy of love, peace, and harmony. And for you, it is happening in your area, dealing with legal matters, dealing with overseas travel again. So your concentration of energy is going to be focused around the 9th house, Taurus rising. 9th house, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, is dealing with an array of activities, an array of topics. Now, on the 10th, you have the sun in a sextile to Neptune. This is a day where you might have increased visions. You might be having vivid dreams. You might dream about a friend who lives far away. Okay. On the 11th, we have Mars in a square to Neptune. And for you, this is happening in your area of your life that deals with your transformation and your friendships. Okay. So there could be a challenge that you have to deal with around the 11th. And you might have a friend that calls you and they need your undivided attention, which is going to create that square. The square represents that challenge for you. So there's going to be a challenge between the demands that your friends have on you, or it could even be maybe you're a part of a group and they want you to do something around that time and you are just strapped for time. Okay. It could be a case where you reach out to a friend because you need a loan and there just might be a challenge dealing with that. So remember, around the 11th, there's going to be a challenge that you have to deal with, and it could be related to, remember, the 8th house can deal with other people's money, sex, transformation, death or rebirth. So there's going to be something that you have to deal with around the 11th, Taurus rising, and it's going to be something dealing with friendships and something dealing with transformation. Okay, something could really happen around the 11th that transforms your friendships, and it's going to leave you feeling like, I don't have any energy left to deal with this. Okay, now on the 16th, the 16th is a day where a lot of people will feel an increase in their personal power. Okay, so for you, you might feel like if you have any legal situations to deal with, the 16th is going to be a great time for you to deal with them because you will feel an increase in your power. You will feel like you are unstoppable around the 16th. Moving on to the 23rd is going to be, you are going to be focused on your career on the 23rd. So the 23rd is a great time to apply for jobs, to start a business, things of that nature, because you will have the sun in a conjunction to Mercury, and that is an energy of mental alertness, like your ability to process things mentally will be at an all-time high around the 23rd. And this is also a time where you will find yourself easily interacting with others. So if you're in sales, this is a great time for you on the 23rd. Now, moving on to the 28th, we have Mercury in a conjunction to Pluto. And again, this is a time where you are going to look at your life, especially any legal matters you have to deal with. You're going to be looking at your life and asking yourself, what is helping me and what is hindering me? And on the 30th, we have another square to deal with. And this is going to be for Taurus rising. This is going to deal with your career and your self-image. Okay. There's going to be a challenge between maybe what your job wants you to do and what you want to do. Maybe you want to walk around with purple hair, but your job is like, hey, I don't think that's a good look for you. I don't think that blends in with our company culture. Something like that you're going to have to deal with, Taurus rising, because the square is happening between your career and your first house. Your first house is all about you. It's all about, you know, your self-image. It's about how you feel, your belief systems and things like that. So there's going to be a bit of a challenge, and it's going to make you feel a little bit anxious, and you're going to feel like change is lurking. Okay, but that's what Taurus risings can expect for the month of January. Now let's move on to Gemini, and let's see what Gemini can expect for the month of January. And thank you so much for tuning into the video. Now, for Gemini risings, and remember, this is for Gemini risings and Gemini sun signs. So, the concentration of Capricorn energy for Gemini rising is going to be happening in the area of your life that is ruled by Pluto. And that is the area where you might be going through a major transformation. You could be dealing with a sexual issue, or things of that nature. Anything dealing with Pluto energy, death, rebirth, transformation, other people's money even. So let's look at this a little bit more closely. So on the 5th, we have Venus in a sextile to Neptune. And this is a time where you are going to be inspired. So, and this is happening between your area of life dealing with transformation and your career. So you could very well be inspired to make a major move related to your career, or you might decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to branch out on my own and I'm going to make plans to leave the job so that I can do what I've always been inspired to do. Now, on the 8th, we have the sun in a conjunction to Venus. And this is an energy of love, peace, harmony. So whatever you decide to do on the 5th, by the 8th, you're going to feel a sense of peace about it. Okay? It's like you've made up your mind. This is what you're going to do, and you're not going to stress over it. By the 8th, you're going to decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to stress about it. Now, on the 10th, we have the sun in a sextile to Neptune. And again, this is about what you have decided to do on the 5th. Whatever you decide to do around the 5th, it is going to leave you having dreams about it. You could start having dreams about the outcome of what you have decided to do. Whatever you decide to do around the 5th, by the 10th, you might be having dreams about it because the sun is going to be in a sextile to Neptune, and this increases our psychic awareness. It also increases us having vivid dreams. So you could very well be having vivid dreams about your career transition, about what some major transformation that's going on in your life. This is for Gemini rising. Now, on the 11th, we have a square to deal with. It is a square where some misunderstandings can come into the picture. And for Gemini risings, this is going to be happening in the area of your life dealing with partnerships and career. Okay, so it could be a case where you're in a partnership and you had plans to go to dinner with your partner after work, but the job wants you to work late. So it could be some type of, minor misunderstanding or challenge that you have to deal with around the 11th. Okay, now moving on to the 16th, you are going to feel like you are sitting on top of the world because you will be going through a major transformation and you will be feeling good about whatever it is that you have decided to do around the 5th. Okay, now moving on to the rest of the month is basically you will definitely be having more interactions around the 23rd because the sun is going to be in a conjunction to Mercury, and that's an energy where you might find yourself having more interactions. And for you, you might find yourself having more interactions with people from overseas or people who are from other countries, things of that nature. Okay. And then on the 30th, you have a square. We have the sun in a square to Uranus. You might be feeling a little bit anxious about a legal matter that has come up. And so you will definitely have to deal with that around the 30th. So let's move on to the sign of Cancer. And this is for Cancer risings as well as sun sign Cancers. So Cancers, for you this month of January 2022, you are going to be focused on partnerships. You are going to have a lot of activity happening in Capricorn, and for you, that is going to be happening in your area of your life that deals with partnerships. This can be business partnerships. It can also be romantic partnerships as well. But on the 5th, we have Venus in a sextile to Neptune, and this is an energy where you will be inspired. You might actually, some of you might be proposing to your long-term partner, okay, because 7th house does rule contracts and it does rule relationships that are under contracts. So you might be inspired around the 5th to propose, or someone might propose to you on the 5th. Even if it's a business relationship, someone might come to you with a contract and say, hey, I think we should go into partnership. Let's seal the deal. Okay, because the 9th house, which, your 7th house is in a sextile to your 9th house, which is where Venus and Neptune are. And so this has new contract written all over it. It can be a new business contract. It can be a romantic relationship that turns into maybe a marriage or so for a lot of Cancers. Now, on the 8th, well, let's back up to the 5th. If any of you Cancers out there are thinking about getting engaged, getting married, things of that nature, the 5th is a great time to do it, because this Venus in a sextile to Neptune is a great time. Now remember, around this time, Venus is still going to be retrograde. Venus is still going to be retrograde. And when Venus is retrograde, it is a great time for you to look at your love life, to look at your finances, and ask yourself, what do I love about this relationship? What don't I like at all about this relationship? So a lot of people would say Venus retrograde is not a great time to get married, things of that nature. When in actuality, you have to look at everything in a case-by-case basis, because Venus retrograde will help you to look at what is working in love, what is working in finances, what is not working in love, what is working in finances, things of that nature. So, being that it's in a sextile to Neptune, it is actually, in my opinion, everybody's opinion is different. In my opinion, this day is going to be a good time to seal the deal for a lot of people, because with Venus retrograde, you are going to be more hesitant to get into a relationship or to seal the deal, because with Venus retrograde, it makes you think more about, why am I doing this? Why am I with this person? Things of that nature. All right, so let's move on to the 8th. The 8th, we have the Sun in a conjunction to Venus. This is a day of peace, love, and harmony. And for you, this is happening in your area dealing with partnerships. So whether it's business partnerships or romantic partnerships, you are going to feel like, hey, this relationship we're just having smooth sailing in this relationship. Okay. Now, on the 11th, this is going to be a day where you might have a little bit of low energy. So around the 11th, make sure that you're taking care of your health, because your 6th house is involved. Your 6th house is going to be in a square to your 9th house. Okay, so we have Mars in a square to Neptune. This is a day where a lot of people will have low energy. This is a day for you where you might want to just go full force with your daily routine, but for some reason, with being in a square to Neptune, Neptune is going to be like, hey, why don't you just stop at the park and just sit on the bench instead? You know, you might have things you need to do, but Neptune is going to be challenging you to do something more dreamy. You know, Mars wants to go full force, wants to get things accomplished, take care of business. Meanwhile, Neptune is challenging Mars and saying, hey, instead of taking care of business, let's do something fun. Let's just go take a blanket and sit out in the park and just let the day pass by. So this is going to be a day where you feel like you have a lot to do, but then for some reason you might feel like, hey, I'm not getting anything accomplished today. Okay, so just watch out for that around the 11th, Cancer. And then on the 16th, we have another day where a lot of Cancer risings will have to check in on how are you treating your partner, whether it's a business partner, whether it's a romantic partner. You don't want to come off as overbearing around this time, because that is the energy of when the Sun is in a conjunction to Pluto. A lot of us will have we will be filled with the energy to be overbearing. And for you, that energy is going to be concentrated in your area dealing with partnerships. So if you are in a committed relationship, you could come off as overbearing to your partner, or maybe your partner could come off as overbearing to you. But that is going to be a day where you really have to check in with yourself and ask yourself, am I treating this other person as a partner and not as if I am a domineering person over them? So remember, around the 16th, check in on yourself and make sure that you are not being too overbearing. And remember, I'm mentioning these dates, but especially if you are sensitive to planetary energies, you might feel the energy from this aspect before the date that I mentioned. So always keep that in mind. Don't feel like you have to be stuck to a particular date. Okay. Now, on the 30th, we have another square. We have the sun in a square to Uranus. And this is going to be a day where a lot of us feel anxious. And for you, Cancer rising, this is happening in the area of your life dealing with transformation and dealing with friendships. So there could be something that you feel is lurking, like something is about to happen between you and your friends. So just be careful and be very mindful of what is going on around that time. That is for Cancer rising. Now we're going to move on to the sign of Leo. And this is for Leo rising as well as Leo sun signs. So Leo, for you, the concentration of Capricorn energy is going to be happening in your area of life that can deal with your health. Okay? It can deal with your health and it can also deal with your daily routine. Now, let's look at what's happening. On the 5th, with Venus in a sextile to Neptune, you might very well be inspired to start a new exercise routine, to start fasting. You are going to be inspired to do something different that will boost your health. Okay? This is just letting you know that you just need to take it easy, because I know sometimes Leo, they just want to go full force with everything. And the universe is asking you to do it slowly, do it in steps. Don't try to do everything all in one day. Okay. Now, on the 8th, we have the sun in a conjunction to Venus. This is an energy where a lot of people are just going to be filled with love, peace, and harmony. So whatever you decide to do around the 5th, you are going to feel very at peace about it. Okay, you're going to feel like everything is falling into place, and it definitely can have something to do with your health. Like I said, you can decide to start a new exercise regimen. You might join a new gym. You might decide, hey, I'm going to swim every morning before work. You might decide, I'm going to start using herbs. Whatever it is, it's something dealing with your health for a lot of Leos. Something dealing with your health, and for other Leos, it's going to be something that you decide to do differently related to your daily routine. Okay. So on the 8th, we have the sun in a conjunction to Venus. Okay, I just talked about the 8th. Let's talk about the 10th. On the 10th, we have the sun in a sextile to Neptune. This is going to be a day where you will really feel inspired by whatever you decide to do differently related to your health. So on the 10th, you're going to be thinking about whatever you decided to do on the 5th. Okay. Now, on the 11th, you have a bit of a challenge to deal with. You have Mars in a square to Neptune. So for you, this could be something dealing with your creativity and your transformation. So there could be something that you're thinking about doing, something that's like a creative project you're thinking about, but then the challenge will come in with the fact that you might need funding. You might have to use your credit card to fund this idea. So that can be the challenge for you. So it's like you have the idea, but you might not have all of the funding you need. Okay. Another way this can play out is that you might have a romantic connection with someone, but the challenge might come in that in a way that because it's dealing with your 8th house. This challenge is between your 5th and your 8th houses. So the 8th house challenge for Leos can be something dealing with sex. Maybe you're in a romantic relationship and you find out that the person that you're dating is celibate, and you're like, hey, that's going to be a challenge for me, or it could be a case where you've been dating someone and they want to take things to the next level. Like they're saying, hey, I think we should go out of town together. And, you're sitting back counting your coins and you're like, you know what? I don't have the money to do that. How am I going to break it to this person who I've been seeing over the past few months? Something like that. Some kind of challenge is going to come up. And it could be a challenge that comes up for some Leos related to their children. Your children could come to you for a loan and you might feel like, hey, you know what? I don't really have the money. I might have to take out a loan to help my child. Something like that can come up for some Leo rising. Because again, this is happening. Mars is in Sagittarius in your fifth house. And the fifth house can deal with romance, creativity, children. So the challenge is going to come up in one of those areas as it relates to eighth house matters, which can deal with sex, transformation, money, other people's money, basically. So just be on the lookout for that around the 11th. Now, on the 23rd, the sun is going to be in a conjunction to Mercury, and they're both going to be in Aquarius at this time. This is a time where you might be thinking about traveling, and it's happening in your seventh house. So you and your partner might be thinking about traveling. If this is related to a business partnership, you and your partner might be thinking about taking your business abroad. Okay, so it's a great day for being mentally alert. That is the energy of when the sun is in a conjunction to Mercury. Your mental alertness will be at an all-time high. And also, this is a great time to talk about travel and to also travel around that time. Now, on the 30th, you do have a challenge to deal with, and it's related to your partnerships and your career. So if you're in a romantic relationship or you're in a marriage, there could be a challenge that comes up related to your career. If you're in a business partnership, some of you are in partnerships, or some of you are self-employed, but you're also working for someone. So there can be a challenge that comes up between what you're doing with your business partner and what your 9-to-5 job wants you to do. So just be on the lookout for that. So that's what Leo can expect as far as the aspects for the month of January. Again, if you want to look at these planetary movements and like when is the sun moving into Aquarius, you can check out my website and look at that information throughout the month. And I also have a written summary of what I'm talking about. It's just a general summary for all signs. I have that listed on my website. So now we're going to move on to the sign of Virgo. All right, Virgo. And again, for every sign, there's going to be a concentration of energy in the sign of Capricorn. So if you are a Virgo rising or a sun sign Virgo, then your concentration of energy is going to be happening in your fifth house. The fifth house deals with romance, kids, creativity, games of chance, things of that nature. So let's look at what you can expect as far as the planetary aspects. This is for Virgo rising and sun sign Virgo. So on the 5th, we have Venus in a sextile to Neptune. This is a day of inspiration. This is a great day for you to take a date out on to the museum, things of that nature. Okay. On the 8th, we have the sun in a conjunction to Venus. This is a day where this is another perfect day to go on a date. You know, whether you're in a marriage or dating someone, whatever, this is a great time for Virgo risings to be out and about romancing someone or having someone romance you. Okay, because this energy is happening in your fifth house. This is also a great time for Virgos to come up with creative ideas. And it's also a great time to conceive for a lot of Virgo risings and Virgo sun signs. Now, you do have a challenge to deal with on the 11th. You have Mars in a square to Neptune. And this is happening for you in your area of your life dealing with your home and family and your partnerships. So if you're in a marriage, you might have a challenge that comes up between what's going on in your household and what's happening in your what's happening in the rest of your family. Okay, so it could be a case where maybe something comes up with your brothers or sisters, or something's going on with your cousin, and your husband or wife is like, look, I don't think we should get involved in that. Okay, so that's going to be a day where misunderstandings are highly likely for everyone. And for Virgo risings, the misunderstandings could come when you are dealing with your home and family and your partnerships. And it can also be a case where, because remember the fourth house, which is where Mars and Sagittarius is for Virgo rising, the fourth house can also deal with your inner dialogue. So you might be in a partnership and your partner says something to you and you take it the wrong way, okay? Because your inner dialogue is receiving the message as a misunderstanding. So watch out for that on the 11th. Watch out for misunderstandings on the 11th. And just don't take it personally. Now, on the 16th, we have the Sun in a conjunction to Pluto. This is a day where, especially if you are dating, you might come off as overbearing to the person that you're dating. You might come off as overbearing to children. You might come off as overbearing as far as presenting your creative ideas. So just watch out for that on the 16th. And then on the 30th, we have the Sun in a square to Uranus. And this is an energy where a lot of people are going to feel anxious and you're going to feel like change is looming. And for you, Virgo rising, this is happening in the area of your life that can deal with your health and legal matters. So just keep an eye out to see what is going on for you around that time. Now let's move on to Libra rising. Libra rising, the concentration of Capricorn energy is going to be happening in your fourth house. The fourth house can deal with your inner dialogue. It can also deal with your home and family situation. Luckily, most of the energies, most of the planetary connections and aspects are happening in a positive manner. So on the 5th, we have Venus in a sextile to Neptune. This is a time where you will be inspired, okay? A lot of Libra risings are going to be inspiring their family members to do something to better their health around this time, because the 4th and the 6th houses are involved in this sextile. Now, on the 8th, you have the Sun in a conjunction to Venus. It's going to be about love, peace, and harmony within your home and family situation. Even if it's just dealing with your inner dialogue, you are going to feel very peaceful on an inner level as well around the 8th. Now, on the 10th, we have the Sun in a sextile to Neptune. You could very well have some visions about your home and family life, about your daily routine, and also about your health. So pay attention to that, because your health is going to be very important as well. Moving on to the 11th, we do have a square to deal with, and we have Mars in a square to Neptune. This is an energy where a lot of people will feel like their energy level is very low. And for you, this is happening between your 3rd and your 6th houses. So just pay attention. There might be a challenge that comes up related to your daily routine and maybe your transportation. You might have a transportation issue that comes up, because remember, the 3rd house is ruled by Mercury. Mercury rules moving parts. So you might have an issue that comes up with your transportation around this time. You could have an issue that comes up with communicating. You might say something to someone and they take it the wrong way, and it just messes up the rest of the day. So something like that can come up. So, I mean, if you can take the day off around the 11th, Libra rising, it might be a great time to do that. Okay. Now, on the 16th, we have the Sun in a conjunction to Pluto. And it's happening for you in your area of life, dealing with your home and family. So around the 16th, be careful not to come off as overbearing to your family, okay? Because remember, everyone is dealing with the same energies. We're just dealing with the energies in different areas of our lives. And for you, Libra rising, this energy is going to be concentrated in your home and family area. So that's why I'm saying, remember not to come off as overbearing to your family members around this time. On the 23rd, we have the Sun in a conjunction to Mercury. This is a great day to go out on dates, Libra risings, because it's happening in your area of life that deals with romance. So this is a great day for you to go on a romantic date. It's a great day for you to come up with a creative idea. It's a great day for you to deal with children around this time. It's a great day to try to conceive as well. Now, on the 28th, you're going to be asking yourself, what is helping me in my family situation? What is harming me or hurting me or not working for me in my family situation around the 28th? All right, so that was for Libra rising. Now let's move on to Scorpio rising. Scorpio rising. All right, so Scorpio rising. This is for Scorpio rising as well as sun sign Scorpio. So on the 5th, we have Venus in a sextile to Neptune, and it's happening for you in your area of life that is ruled by Mercury. Okay. And remember, at this point in the month, Mercury is going to be retrograde. Okay. So you might be rethinking a transportation issue. You might be rethinking how you're going to communicate with someone that you are involved with romantically. So Mercury retrograde, a lot of Scorpio risings are really going to feel that Mercury retrograde energy around this time. Okay, and not only that, Venus is going to be retrograde also. So Mercury retrograde is going to have you rethinking some things as far as how you communicate. And then Venus retrograde is going to have you rethinking what do you love? What do you not like about communicating with certain people or certain situations? Okay, so that's for Scorpio rising around the 5th. Now, on the 8th, we have the Sun in a conjunction to Venus. And this is a day where the energy of this conjunction is going to be one of peace and harmony. So you're going to be communicating very peacefully. You're going to be communicating love. And so overall, the 8th is going to be a great day for all signs. Now, on the 10th, we have another sextile. And this is a day where you might definitely have sort of like a revelation about something that's going on related to romance, related to creativity. So that's going to be a pretty good day on the 10th. Now on the 11th, we have a square you will have to deal with. And this is a square. We have Mars in a square to Neptune. This is a square where your finances are going to come into play. Okay, because it's dealing with the second house. For you, Scorpio rising, Mars is in your second house. So there could be a misunderstanding. You could be dating someone and there's a misunderstanding about who's going to pay the bill, you know, or you could be dating someone and they have a misunderstanding about what they are expected to bring to the table, so to speak. All right, so just keep an eye out for that because that's going to be a challenge that you have to deal with on the 11th related to romance as it relates to finances, or it could be creativity as it relates to finances, or it can be kids as it relates to finances. So finances in those areas are going to be, there's going to be some type of challenge you have to deal with around that time. All right, so on the 23rd, we have the Sun in a conjunction to Mercury, and this is an energy where You want to have more interactions with your family around this time because it's happening in your area of life that deals with your home and your family. So you will find yourself wanting to have more interactions with your family members around the 23rd. And then on the 30th, we have another square to deal with. We have the sun in a square to Uranus, and that's an energy that a lot of people are going to feel anxious around the end of the month. Okay, that is the energy of when the sun is in a square to Uranus. And for you, Scorpio rising, it's happening in your area of life that deals with your home and family, and also that deals with your partnerships. Okay, so it can be a case where you feel like change is lurking within your family. So just keep an eye out for that. That was for Scorpio rising. Now let's move on. Let's move on to Sagittarius rising. Sagittarius rising. Okay, so Sagittarius, for you, this concentration of Capricorn is happening in your area dealing with finances. Okay, so on the 5th, we have Venus in a sextile to Neptune. You will definitely be inspired. You might be inspired to help a family member out financially. A family member might be inspired to help you out on the 5th. Okay, because that's the areas that the planets are where the planets are located for you. Okay, so, but it is going to be a very inspiring day. Okay, so you might be inspired to help someone out financially within your family, or you might have a family member that's inspired to help you out around the 5th. Now, on the 8th, we have a conjunction of the Sun and Venus, and it's in the area of your life that deals with your finances. And it is going to be a day of love, peace, and harmony. So it looks like whatever happens around the 5th for you, you are going to feel so at peace about it on the 8th. Okay? And then let's look at the 11th, because on the 11th, you have a square to deal with. Well, we all have this square to deal with, but it's happening in different areas of our charts. So for Sagittarius rising, this is happening in the area of your life that deals with your self-image, and the other area that is the challenge is your home and family. So there could be a misunderstanding that comes up around the 11th between what you are expected to do and what your family is expected to do. So there's going to be a challenge between your house 1, which is your house of self, and your house 4, which is your house that deals with home and family situations. So keep an eye out for that. And then, let's see, on the 16th, we have a nice conjunction. We have the sun in a conjunction to Pluto, and it's a time where this is an energy where a lot of people can come off as overbearing. So you might come off as being overbearing related to your finances around the 16th, Sagittarius rising. Okay. And let's see what else. Also on the 28th, we have Mercury in a conjunction to Pluto. And it's happening in your area of life that is ruled by Venus. And Venus is all about love, stability, finances. So this is a day where you're going to ask yourself, what is helping me attain my financial goals? And what is hindering me from attaining my financial goals? You're going to be asking yourself questions like that around the 28th. Okay. So that's everything I have for Sagittarius. Let's move on to the sign of Capricorn. All right, Capricorn. So Capricorn, a lot of energy is happening in your house. What does that mean for you? It means that your self-image is going to receive a lot of activity. You might find yourself changing something. You might be inspired to do a radical change about your self-image, okay? So let's take a look at the aspects. On the 5th, we have Venus in a sextile to Neptune. And for you, it's happening in your area of life dealing with your self-image. and the area of your life that can deal with your siblings. It can deal with moving parts such as transportation. It can deal with short distance travel, but you will be inspired. So this is saying that around the 5th, a lot of Capricorn risings will be inspired to take a short distance trip. You might be inspired to spend time with a sibling or a close neighbor. Whatever is happening around the 5th, you are definitely front and center, and you will be inspired. Whatever is going on around the 5th. Now, on the 8th, we have the Sun in a conjunction to Venus. This is a day where you will just be at peace. You will feel so at peace. You will be filled with love. And it's all about yourself. Like, you might actually give yourself a hug on this day. You might look in the mirror and say, you are just outstanding on the 8th, okay? Now, on the 10th, we have the Sun in a sextile to Neptune. And this is a day where whatever you decide to do around the 5th, it is going to continue through the 10th. Now, on the 11th, you do have a square to deal with. This is a time where a lot of Capricorn risings are going to want to be alone around the 11th. You're not going to have a lot of energy, and you're going to be more prone to having misunderstandings with others around the 11th. Because this Mars in a square to Neptune is happening between your 12th and 3rd houses. And we know sometimes when the 12th house gets involved, it is a sign that you're going to want to be alone. You're going to want to work on some things privately. Meanwhile, there's going to be a need for you to communicate, which you really might not feel like doing around the 11th. So just keep an eye out for that. Now, on the 23rd, we have the Sun in a conjunction to Mercury. You might find yourself having more interactions around this time. And for you, it's happening in your 2nd house, which is ruled by Venus. So it could have something to do with your finances. It could have something to do with you beautifying your environment around the 23rd. Okay. Now, on the 28th, we have Mercury in a conjunction to Pluto. You're going to be asking yourself, what is hindering my transformation? What changes do I need to make to see the transformation I want to see in my life? Okay, because it's happening in your 1st house of self. And then on the 30th, you have another square to deal with. You have the Sun in a square to Uranus. Overall, this is going to be a great month, but each month we have things that we have to deal with, okay? And we can always turn something around and put a good spin on it, put a positive spin on it. So for you, your challenge is going to be happening between your finances, your area dealing with finances, and your area dealing with romance. That is for Capricorn rising. So that's how you end the month. You end the month feeling like there's something lurking, there's change lurking surrounding romance or creativity or kids as it relates to your finances. All right, so that was for Capricorn risings. Let's move on to the sign of Aquarius. So Aquarius for you, a lot of Aquarius risings and sun sign Aquarius, you're going to want to work on some things behind the scenes in January, okay? Because that's where the concentration of energy is for you. It is in your 12th house. So a lot of Aquarius risings are either going to want to spend a lot of time alone, focus a lot on spirituality, things of that nature. You're going to either want to be alone or focus on your spirituality. And a lot of you are going to you are going to be inspired to spend money on spiritual items around the 5th, because those are the two areas that are going to be affected on the 5th for Aquarius risings. You have Venus in a sextile to Neptune, and it's happening between your 12th and 2nd houses. So a lot of Aquarius risings are going to be inspired to spend money on spiritual items. Or you will also be inspired to spend money on things that you enjoy privately. Okay. Now, Let's move on to the 11th because you have the square that you are going to have to deal with. You have Mars in a square to Neptune. And this is a time where a lot of people will have a low energy and misunderstandings are very likely. So for you, Aquarius rising, this misunderstanding between can come in for you and your friends. You might have a misunderstanding between yourself and your friend regarding money. Maybe you promised to give them money, or maybe you guys made a bet and it's time for them to pay up, or it's time for you to pay up. But there's going to be a little bit of a challenge you have to deal with around the 11th, and it's related to either finances. Let's say it's related to finances and or friendships on the 11th, around the 11th. The 11th is the exact day of this aspect, but remember, if you are sensitive to energies, you can definitely experience this before the exact date or after the exact date. I always say in astrology, don't get caught up on exact dates because you can always feel the energies before or after if you are sensitive to energies. Now, on the 23rd, we have the sun in a conjunction to Mercury, and this is a day where you are going to be very alert mentally, okay? That is the energy of when the sun is in a conjunction to Mercury. Remember, Mercury is the planet that deals with your mental processes. It can deal with moving parts, communication, things of that nature. So this is a day where you might actually find yourself traveling somewhere. This is a great day for you to come up with ideas because, again, your mental capacity is going to be at an all-time high on the 23rd. Now, on the 28th, we have Mercury in a conjunction to Pluto, and you are going to find yourself, Aquarius risings, you're going to find yourself asking questions such as, what is helping me along my spiritual journey? What can I do to enhance my spiritual journey? Okay, what can I do to feel the transformation I want to feel in my life? This is happening in your area of life that deals with spirituality. This is also the area that deals with what you're doing behind the scenes. So you might find yourself asking yourself, what am I doing behind the scenes that is hindering my progress? Or what am I doing behind the scenes that's helping my progress? Okay. So that's everything I have for Aquarius risings. Let's move on to Pisces and see what is in store for Pisces based on the planetary aspects. So Pisces risings, your focus this month is going to be on friendships, networking, group associations, things of that nature. And I say that because your concentration of energies are going to be in the 11th house. The 11th house is known for being the house of friendships. It's known for being the house of networking. It is ruled, Neptune is ruled by not Neptune. House 11 is ruled by Uranus. Uranus is the planet of surprise. And Uranus is also the planet that deals with technology as well. So let's look at what's going on for you. On the 5th, we have Venus in a sextile to Neptune. And you are going to be inspired to spend time with your friends around this time. Okay? So this is a great time for a lot of people. This is a great time for every sign to go to a museum. Because when Venus gets together with Neptune, it's all about beauty. It's all about being in beautiful places, serene places. Okay, so on the 8th, moving on the 8th, we have the sun in a conjunction to Venus. This is an energy where love, peace, and harmony is going to be, you're going to feel it in your friendships. You're going to feel it when you're out networking. You're going to feel like everyone is in harmony. Everyone is networking just so peacefully. Everyone is in harmony with one another. This is for Pisces rising. Now, on the 10th, we have the sun in a sextile to Neptune, and this is another great day where psychic visions are highly likely for a lot of Pisces risings around the 10th. And then on the 11th, you have a little bit of a challenge to deal with. You have Mars in a square to Neptune. So you might have a misunderstanding between what's going on at your job and what you want to do. So you might find yourself thinking about taking a day off around the 11th because there might be something going on that you want to take care of, and you might feel like your job is in the way, your job or your career or your business. So you might be considering taking a day off around the 11th, Pisces rising. Okay, so on the 16th, Pisces risings, you have to watch out for coming off as being overbearing to your friends because you have the sun in a conjunction to Pluto in your 11th house, and this is dealing with friendships. So on the 16th, make sure you are not coming off as being too overbearing to your friendships, to your friends around that time. Okay. So on the 30th, everyone is going to feel like change is lurking. Okay. So there's going to be a square that we have to deal with. We have the sun in a square to Uranus. And for you, this is happening in the area of your life that can deal with your spirituality as it relates to communication. Okay. So you might have a challenge communicating your spiritual preferences around that time, or you might have someone come up to you and they're trying to talk you into visiting their church or joining their church or asking you personal questions about your spirituality. And so there's going to be a challenge that comes up that you will have to deal with because, a lot of people don't like talking about spirituality. A lot of people like to keep that private. So around the 30th, you might be faced with, how do I politely tell this person I don't want to talk about my spiritual preferences? Okay, so that's everything I have for every sign. Again, you can visit my website and check out what I have listed here if you are wondering when is the full moon this month. I have it listed on my website. You can also receive daily screenshot messages, daily screenshot readings on my website. Check it out, metaphysicalmoonlighters.com. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to my channel. I definitely appreciate this. Join my Facebook groups. I'll have them listed in the description. And everybody, Happy New Year and have a wonderful month of January.